It's getting crazy. It's getting spooky real fast. Very, very fast. I told y'all, people have had enough. All of y'all in the Indiana Fever organization who have been lying about this girl injury, not being transparent, and all these things that the fans are feeling, the fans are speaking back. They do not appreciate it. They feel scammed, they feel lied to, and they feel used.
It's spiraling fast, real fast. What started as whispers has now turned into something much bigger. Fans have hit their breaking point. For everyone in the Indiana Fever front office who thought they could gloss over Caitlin Clark's injury with vague updates and half-truths, that strategy has officially backfired. Fans feel deceived. They feel manipulated. They feel like they've been sold a false story.
Urge DOJ and FTC to investigate WNBA's misleading practices. Wow. So we are here now. And what's crazy about all of this is that, guys, this is I'm not going to come on here and say that they're going to lose, because if there was an investigation going into this team, they're not going to lose this investigation. Oh, they're going to win. Whoever is representing Caitlin is going to win.
And the perception now that the Fever organization, along with head coach Stephanie White, just pulled off one of the most blatant disappearing acts in WNBA history.
The Caitlin Clark injury situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could be. And that's coming on the heels of it seeming to be pretty clear when Clark would return to the court, or about when she would return to the court. It was said on the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that Stephanie White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open portion of practice, Clark is not seen. And Stephanie White afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is back at practice.
Trying to hide the truth about Clark's injury in plain sight, hoping no one would piece it together. But fans did. The evidence is everywhere. Clips, pictures, timelines that simply don't add up. What was framed as a medical update now looks more like a calculated cover-up. And really, in 2025, did they think no one would fact-check every single word? Because here's the problem, the contradictions are glaring.
And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
When does this happen in sports where someone this valuable suffers an injury and you don't tell people about it until 2 weeks later, once speculation about Caitlin Clark starts running rampant? Once people start finally muster up the courage to say, hey, this is weird. Caitlin Clark has disappeared and vanished. She doesn't talk to reporters. We're getting no legitimate information from anybody in the Indiana Fever organization. This is the biggest star in sport.
So glaring, in fact, that this has gone beyond basketball. Fans are openly asking whether this borders on consumer deception. Were tickets, broadcasts, and merchandise sold under false pretenses? The calls are already growing for the Department of Justice and the FTC to look into whether fans have been misled. This isn't just messy, it's becoming a credibility crisis. Stephanie White stood in front of cameras and laid out a neat little timeline about Clark's return. It sounded tidy, reassuring, but when the dates don't line up with reality, people notice. And once the pieces get pulled apart, trust evaporates. So let's backtrack.
What changed, right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seem to point in the direction of Clark returning soon. Even Natasha Howard saying, see you soon, CC. Now it's like, wait and see. And there's further information coming out that Clark suffered a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another reporter is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little bit more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star is going to return to the floor this season or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as if some patience hasn't been expressed.
Caitlin Clark suffered a groin injury in July after contact with J.C. Sheldon. At the time, it was described as day-to-day, with whispers she could be back by late August. White herself said on August 12th that Clark was expected to return to practice that week. But when media got access to practice, no Clark.
The Indiana Fever's got $1 billion entity on their team. $1 billion damn dollars. And they're a bunch of clowns, a bunch of bozos. You guys look completely incompetent and unprofessional. The way this has been handled, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. Look, and look, they can't say anything about conspiracy theories. You're complicit in creating them because you won't be open and you won't be honest.
Afterward, White said, "It's status quo until Clark is back in practice." That was the first crack. Then, out of nowhere, another explanation surfaced. Suddenly, Clark supposedly hurt herself again during a workout on August 7th. A convenient excuse. Simple, controlled, PR-friendly. But the receipts told a different story. Footage from that exact same date showed Clark in Phoenix walking smoothly through the airport with a Prada bag in hand. No limp, no visible discomfort. Fans saw it. They saved it. They shared it. So, what changed? Just days earlier, teammates were hinting she'd be back soon.
You got this video right here that a lot of you have already seen. I just saw it in the last couple of days of Caitlin getting stepped on by a coach right there on the left.
Stepped on by the coach, and I think she's going to be all right based upon the grin on her face. But
the left foot, the one that's got the issue. She got stepped on. And today, I'm not even going to say Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans are crashing out at a different level. And I don't blame them. I don't.
Natasha Howard even said, "See you soon, Cece." Now the message is, we'll wait and see. And to complicate it more, conflicting reports came out about an ankle injury. Some said yes, others said no. The only constant was confusion.
You guys have said Caitlin Clark was day-to-day for I don't know how long. You guys have fabricated timelines on her injury many times throughout this season. And the people have just flat out had enough. And it's gone so far.
At this point, nobody was asking for Clark's full medical file. Fans just wanted honesty. Instead, they got spin. And then came the media response, which made things worse. Reporters like Scott Agnes went on air laughing while retelling the unlucky workout injury. Laughing. Like Clark's setback was a comedy sketch.
This practice isn't just disappointing, it's deceptive. Fans invested their hard-earned money in tickets, streaming packages, and merchandise under the belief that they were being given honest information. Instead, it appears coordinated efforts were made between the league and team communications to present a facade of hopeful updates, masking the true status of a beloved player's injury.
I feel like they were lying about her injury as far as like the severity of it. I think it's a really bad injury. I think when they rushed her back that one time, I think she hurt it even more and it pushed the timeline back.
Trying to come back and come back quickly. She needs to make sure that she's 100%. Her competitor wants to play. We're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
As bad as it might sound, I think it might be like a season-ending level type of injury, and they're hoping to get in the playoffs and they can somehow get her during the playoffs.
The reaction from fans was immediate. Are we really supposed to believe the biggest star in the league, the player driving record attendance and TV ratings, is sidelined? And you're joking about it? That's not just unprofessional, it's insulting. To fans, to the league, and to Clark herself. This isn't a minor role player we're talking about. Clark is the WNBA's billion-dollar draw. She's selling out arenas coast to coast, and yet, the way this has been handled makes the Fever look like amateurs. And here's the thing, when you hide the truth, you feed the very conspiracy theories you're trying to avoid. Take that infamous moment when assistant coach Brianne January stepped on Clark's foot in a game. The video is still out there. Fans remember it, they've dissected it, and yet the official story of a workout injury doesn't match the timeline of what people saw with their own eyes.
Everybody's been hanging on. And even worse, everybody's been spending money on this team, which looks like a damn scheme at this point. The Indiana Fever know people have been spending money on tickets and travel and blah, 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 thinking that Caitlin Clark was her anticipated comeback. People tuning in and showing up at games, they need to understand that was because the idea, the aura that Caitlin Clark was coming back to lead this team into the playoffs.
So which is it? Did Clark tweak it in practice, or did her own staff injure her on the sideline? If it's the latter, then this isn't just bad luck. This is negligence. Negligence that could absolutely trigger an investigation. Meanwhile, Clark herself has been pushed into scripted sound bites. Every time she speaks, it's the same lines. Working hard, feeling good, just unlucky. It doesn't sound like Caitlin. It sounds like PR copy, and fans can tell. That's why they're furious. They've invested time, money, and energy believing they were getting honest updates about when their favorite player might return.
Goes on to say fans felt excited when they purchased tickets, believing they'll watch Caitlin Clark shine on the court. However, that excitement turned to disappointment as misleading injuries kept fueling false hopes that she had played the WNBA. And hold up. Damn, is they finna get her for line? Is they finna get her for line to the fans? Oh my God. Hold up. The WNBA and Indiana Fever Indiana Fever have repeatedly engaged in what seems to be a strategic ploy to drive ticket sale and merchandise sales by suggesting that Caitlin Clark return was on the horizon. Holy-ish right now, bro. Oh my God, it's about to get red.
Instead, it feels like they've been fed a rehearsed story to keep ticket sales and TV viewership alive. This isn't just disappointing, it borders on deception.
This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about.
Imagine this scenario in the NBA. If a coach or staff member stepped on Steph Curry or LeBron James, and then the organization lied about it, the coverage would be 24/7. There would be immediate accountability, probably terminations.
Anybody who saw this could have maybe thought something was up. Breanne January stepping on Caitlin Clark here. August 9th. Left ankle. That's where the bone bruise supposedly happened. On August 7th, which is what is being shared now. And, you know, some of these things you hear rumblings about, and you don't know exactly what's going on.
But in the WNBA, silence. No answers. Just recycled talking points from the team's PR department. Fans have poured their money into this product. Season tickets, flights, hotels, jerseys, all under the assumption Clark was nearing her comeback.
WNBA, y'all have to figure it out. The people have had enough. I'm going to let you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is picking up steam, and it's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a bad look, all because you guys refuse to be transparent about Caitlin Clark injuries and injuries around the league.
Now it looks like they were strung along with false hope. And when you take people's money under misleading circumstances, you're not just playing with loyalty, you're flirting with consumer fraud. Stephanie White is now at the center of this storm. Her fake timeline isn't just careless, it might be legally problematic.
Lawsuits. Fans, y'all, we might have a case here. We might have a case to sue not only the Indiana Fever, but the WNBA for misleading us, having us thinking Caitlin Clark was going to come back, because we all remember when Stephanie White was on ESPN, she stated Caitlin Clark was on her way to come back and practice and get ready to make a return of a lifetime to the Indiana Fever. Oh, yeah, she said that when around the 12th. Well, judging off your sources, if she got hurt around the 7th, you knew prior to you going to ESPN that Caitlin Clark wasn't coming back when you said she was going to come back. You're lying. You're lying and you're misleading, and it's looking real spooky. And I'm happy the fans are standing up.
Because when you market games around a superstar, encourage fans to spend on tickets and merchandise, and then knowingly mislead them about her availability, you're crossing into deceptive practices.
All right? People have been trying to stay invested because the GOAT was supposed to be coming back. I mean, seriously. So let's just take a little of the temperature in the room. I'm not happy with the Fever front office and their fan communications. I have tickets I paid for months ago to go to next Tuesday's game. I have airline tickets. I have hotel, restaurant reservations made.
And that's the kind of thing regulators take seriously. And here's where the theories heat up. Maybe this isn't incompetence. Maybe it's intentional. Clark arrived in the league like a tidal wave, rewriting attendance and ratings records. But almost immediately, the whispers started. She needs to bulk up. She needs more strength. So the staff pushed her body. Hard. Too hard. And now, in her second season, she's dealing with lingering injuries.
They've put out some information to throw us off the trail. This is part of the cover-up of like, there's something weird going on with Caitlin Clark. She's been put in a position to where it's best for her. It's been explained to her. Hey, for your mental health, we got to keep you away from the cameras, away from the media. We have to keep you off the court because you struggle.
That's not random. That's mismanagement. Some even believe she re-injured herself because the Fever tried to rush her back too quickly, setting her timeline back even further. And the result? The possibility of a season-ending setback.
I am devastated that Sophie Cunningham is now out, and I would like to know if Caitlin Clark will be playing. It's not too much to ask. The Fever need to be more transparent. Absolutely. Absolutely. I shared that. A lot of fans are in this exact situation. Come on. If Caitlin Clark is gone for the year, it's time to show a pair and admit it. Admit it. I got to tell you guys, it's time to go to Fever social media and began demanding, is Caitlin Clark coming back this year or not?
Fans are now openly saying Clark should ditch the Fever's medical staff altogether and go back to Iowa doctors she can actually trust. And given the lies about the original timeline, can you blame them? If the organization is willing to bend the truth about when she got hurt, what else are they hiding? Are they downplaying severity? Are they pushing her toward an early return to keep money flowing? These aren't conspiracy theories anymore. These are legitimate questions created by the team's own lack of transparency.
The pattern of communication between league officials and team medical reports raised concerns of coordinated misrepresentation rather than independent, factual reporting. The coordinated messages suggest an underlying intent to protect revenue streams at the expense of fan loyalty and trust. Economic harm has been inflicted on countless fans who, based on false pretenses, spent money they have not otherwise parted with. They might not have otherwise parted with if they had known Caitlin Clark wouldn't be taking the court.
The timeline itself is a disaster. First, Clark was listed as day-to-day, then she was out indefinitely. Then ESPN circled August 12th as a target return date, yet as of yesterday she was listed as a game-time decision. Only for Stephanie White to immediately admit Clark hadn't even been practicing. Game-time decision for someone not practicing? That isn't just misleading, that's dishonest. And every time White doubles down, she makes the Fever look more untrustworthy. Fans aren't dumb. They've seen Clark hacked by defenders, ignored by refs, targeted by jealous opponents. And now they're watching her mishandled by her own team. Think about that. The most important player in women's basketball in decades. A once-in-a-generation draw. And she's being lied about when she's hurt. That isn't just incompetence, it's malpractice. Here's why this matters beyond Indiana. Caitlin Clark isn't just a Fever player. She is the WNBA right now. Her presence fills arenas, drives TV ratings, and locks in sponsorship deals. When she's out, everything dips. That's why this sloppy cover-up is so reckless. If fans bought tickets under the impression Clark might play when the organization knew she wouldn't, that's false advertising. That's consumer deception. And yes, that's exactly the type of thing that gets investigated. And here's the bigger picture. This is about trust. Trust between fans and the team. Trust between sponsors and the league. Trust between players and the organization. And right now, every time Stephanie White steps up and spins another timeline, that trust erodes. Once trust breaks, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. At the end of the day, Caitlin Clark is the biggest star the WNBA has ever had. She deserves honesty. She deserves protection. She deserves respect. Instead, she's been reduced to a pawn in a sloppy PR scheme, and fans aren't buying it. They're demanding answers. They're calling for accountability. Some are even saying lawsuits aren't out of the question, because if this really is a scheme to sell tickets, TV time, and merchandise under false pretenses, then this isn't just a bad look. It's potentially illegal. So the question is simple. Is this just sloppy mismanagement, or are we looking at a full-blown investigation waiting to explode? Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you still trust the Fever front office and coach Stephanie White?